Welcome back. Got a good old cup of my favorite drink, Plain Jane. Good to the last drop. Don't forget to hit the like button. Nothing, Mr. Lucas. Just here to update the people as much as I can. Oh, wow. Somebody's giving me some credit for something. Now, let's talk about, while we're here. And that's boxing. Boxing. As I just shared this out to a bunch of people so that you can see it. Now, boxing is how we started this page. Everything started with boxing. Then we just migrated from there. But boxing is what got us motivated to start doing YouTube in the first place. Absolutely. Now, let's get into it. Now, there's been many of people who have their favorite fighters, favorite whatever. And in this Wilder versus Tyson Fury, most people didn't even know who Tyson Fury was until he was fighting Deontay Wilder. Seriously. Most of them didn't. Even boxing experts were telling me how Wilder was going to knock him out. The best of the best were telling me that. He don't have a chance. It's over. Do you know how often I heard that? Andrew Gray, not nearly as much as I need. Oh, Casey, to answer your question from earlier, I think I didn't get a chance to respond. If it's best for you and it works and you feel like that's going to work for you, then do it. Did I have to do it? No, I didn't. But times have changed, from when I started and when you started. There's been so many rules. Now, Deontay Wilder, be better than me. Be better. See, Deontay Wilder right now is the epitome of someone who doesn't have an idea about his identity. See, Deontay, his problem is he came out being all about the Lord, and now he didn't feel like this pro-black thing. He feel that's where the money is. So once he lose, or once he has a bad day and everybody's laughing at him, now you get to see the real character of who he really is. And all of this nonsense that he's done has caused Fury, who was calling him out, couldn't wait to fight him again. Because why wouldn't he? He knows he can beat him now. All of a sudden is hearing this person talking about he's a cheater, he cheated, he had an egg weighed, he moved the gloves around. I mean, all of this is ridiculous. His own trainer did something to his water. That's why he couldn't perform. And I've never heard so many ridiculous excuses before in my life. I mean, it was borderline pathetic. I'm serious. Is the glove situation true or not? Absolutely not. There's no truth in none of this. There's nothing wrong with the gloves. Nothing wrong with anything except for Deontay Wilder just got his butt whooped. And he can't accept it. And he knows by using a couple of people online who don't even know anything about boxing, running around with these ideas. How much star power has he lost? He never really was a star. You see, you got to understand something. Only people that knew about Deontay Wilder was really us, and people, but he's not like mainstreamly known all around. He's not known like that yet. Like Tyson Fury was basically more known across the waters and everything, but here in the States, they didn't know him. But they know of him now because he beat the guy who they didn't know anything about until they fought. But he's kind of not there yet. Floyd ain't gonna train Wilder. Wilder wouldn't listen to Floyd. And plus, Wilder needs so much work done. You got to realize that this is his first time fighting somebody who's crafty in his entire boxing career. He's fighting a guy that's mobile, that moves around, and is crafty. First time. Wilder doesn't really have a left hook. His jab is suspect. All he does is measure for a big right hand. When he fought King Kong the second time, it was the same thing. We just knew that when King Kong got caught, the fight was going to be over. He's too up in age. He stands straight still. And once he gets hit, fight's over. Good night. Thank you for coming out and playing EA Sports. It's over. So if you know that going in, then you might have a situation or what you might say a problem. It's a little misleading at times because you assume that, okay, if I'm doing X, Y, and Z, then this should work. It's got to work. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. But in boxing, you might have to make an adjustment based on you're making your adjustment based on the um, the situation that's presented to you in the ring. Yeah. Well, so now Tyson Fury says, I'm never fighting Deontay Wilder again. So that's it. He can do whatever he wants. Now Wilder get to say Fury is scared of him. Because he's like, I don't even want to give that guy any publicity, nothing no more. After what he's done, he don't want nothing to do with him no more. To me, it's terrible. Because the answers is there for you. All you gotta do is watch the fight. And all the people that's like with him, like supporting him, they like, yeah, man, Wilder with us. Yeah, once he feel like he let black people down because he lost the fight. People lose fights. Thomas Hearns became a superstar losing a fight to Sugar Ray Leonard. That fight propelled both fighters upwards. You got to understand that in this world that we live in, there are going to be some people that win, there's going to be some people that lose. But one thing is for sure, you're going to have people that respect the game. They're going to respect this thing. If you go out there and give your all, they're going to respect you. We know that Wilder has lost more rounds than he's won. Now let's move right along. Because I don't think if the fight didn't happen again, I wouldn't lose nothing. I would rather see AJ versus Tyson Fury because I already know who's the best between Wilder and Fury. Fury's never lost. So to see AJ there fighting Fury, that's cool. So you can go ahead and fight Andy Ruiz, somebody, Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz for the title. And he might knock Andy Ruiz out, or Andy might catch him now because guys know how to fight him. If you stay close to Wilder, he can't really do any damage to you up close. He's got to have a distance. Chris, he wasn't KO'd at all. There was no slow count. There was no mismanagement of the time. You just got to go watch the fight in regular time. Don't watch a clip from the internet where somebody's trying to prove a point that there was a count out. The count was on point. The outside judge had the round. He got up at 9. Just go watch the fight. Watch it happen. Mm-hmm. Now let's get to the next segment that we wanted to talk about. Errol Spence Jr. has to wait. Now we're going to talk about, oh yeah, hit the like button, folks. Because Terrence Bud Crawford is fighting Kell Brook. Yes, Kell Brook hasn't fought in years. It took him a long time to get this fight done. Took them a lot of time to get this fight done. But Terrence Crawford is one of the pure boxers in this game. Probably the best I've seen since Floyd in this game right now. I said back in 2013 that when Floyd leaves, Terrence Crawford will be pound for pound the best fighter in the world. People thought I was crazy. They said I was nuts. They laughed at me. They did everything in the world saying, Terrence Crawford, who was that? Some guy named Terrence Crawford. Talking about he gonna be up there where Floyd is. So I said, all you gotta do is wait. It's gonna happen. Now, if I say that, they're gonna be, oh yeah, we know Bud. Now he Bud. Now they know Bud. So for people who just, figured it out or seen him, his boxing IQ is one of the best in the world. Um, CP for the win believes that Crawford is overrated. Buddy, you in for a rude awakening. You're in for a rude awakening. Kell Brook is a tough fight for anybody, man. He is definitely tough as nails. I mean, there's a point where Kell Brook was supposed to be where Terrence Crawford is right now. And now he can get there in one fight. Oh, no, he said, no. I was quoting dude in the chat. I was like, oh, okay. No situation awareness. Yeah, some fighters don't have it. Kell Brook is very slick, coming from Sheffield. And those guys, just like Prince Nazim Ahmed, those guys are predicated on hit and not get hit. They're really good at slipping punches and getting by. Plus, Kell is got good feet work, then staying home, and he's got power. So he's got power, he's got speed, he's got some movement. Terrence Crawford hasn't fought anything like that at 147 yet. Yeah. So it's a challenge. And a lot of people gonna say, oh, well, he hadn't lost. He might have a hard time making 147. He had it back when he was fighting Errol Spence. He had a hard time making 147. So now that we're here, it's a whole different experience, right? Meanwhile, Errol Spence gets, a pass for fighting guys who not really welterweights. Now he's fighting Danny Garcia, another 140-pound fighter coming up to welterweight. You know, this is what it is now. How many light 140s can we move up to 147 that we could feed to Danny Garcia? Danny Garcia got 2 losses to 2 guys who way bigger than him. We've seen it happen like a gang of times, man. That's how people get surprised. You think you know something, then you turn around and realize you don't know anything. People sending me photos in the middle of the line. Way to go, Case. I don't know. I'm surprised. I'm like, what am I doing? How am I even on there? Just for leaving a comment. So yeah, let me see something. See if we can get Uncle Bob Arum on here to promote his fight. Hey, what's going on? Are you available right now? Okay. This is Kevin Davis. Okay. I'll call you in a half hour. So he's in the middle of driving home. I don't trust anything Mike Coppinger is saying. Team Wilder wants to a judge to mediate the contract dispute so that they can go ahead and get an okay to do this and that. The thing is, he's going to make more money fighting Joshua. He knows that. So he wants to go ahead and have his free fight to go fight Joshua. He said, "What I think of Lomachenko's next move after he recovers, he might need to go back down and wait or fight somebody who's at that weight class. Teofimo Lopez's size seemed to bother him a little bit. The body punches. It's the first time he really been in a ring with a guy that size. And I really think he should probably stay there or fight somebody at that weight class that's really a 135. Like Teofimo is like a 140. Devin Haney to me is not ready for Teofimo Lopez. But we'll get there. It's a lot of different scenarios. A lot of them that came to play. Ryan Garcia versus Haney. I would take Devin Haney in that fight, but it's a lot of stuff going on outside the ring with Devin Haney, and it's mostly what happened with young fighters who have a parent or family member in their corner, and then they bring another boxing trainer in there, and you could have too many cooks in the kitchen, and that's what's happening with Devin right now. And yeah, I saw Vlad's interview with Larry Holmes. I loved it. Well, we'll see. I mean, either which way it goes, we'll see how it goes. If Fury fights Wilder again, I'm taking Fury by knockout. Fury is going to stop. Fury's going to stop him. That's all I can tell you. Oh, thanks for the cash out, Marcus. He said, why are there so many championship belts? Because that's how the sanctioning bodies get paid. When the fight is sanctioned or it's a championship bout, they get a fee. Well, the reason why is because one, Gamboa is crafty. There's many people that don't like him. Gamboa is crafty. He's a veteran. He still has skills, even though he's chinny. You got to get to the chin, and he's what you would call a polished amateur fighter. Still fight amateurish. He wasn't going to Gamboa's body. He was basically headhunting and telegraphing punches, and just trying to land and touch him and trying to land one shot, thinking that I'm gonna land a shot, it's gonna look pretty, and he's gonna drop. And he would land a shot and he wouldn't go anywhere. And then he would let Gamboa dance around the ring. He didn't know how to cut the ring off on him. And he just let Gamboa just lead him. The fight was very boring to watch. But he got the job done because he did the most. When Gamboa is just really there for a check, but this hurts your development, because this is why I tell you my cash app is Carcino, Karceno, and don't forget to hit the like button, good people. See, the problem is most people don't see it that way. Let me see if Paulie's around. That's normal, Paulie. Paulie called me 7 hours later. It'd be like 3 in the morning. Yo, what's up? See, that's the problem, King Team. I was gonna bring that up in the middle of this as we go through our progression. Exactly. A lot of people don't understand that these fighters are young and they try to be social media stars before they're a star in the ring. Be a star in the ring first, then go on social media. Most people and the fighters who are successful in the ring, a lot of them are not on social media like that. Floyd Mayweather ain't on social media like that at all. He's just not. Canelo, same thing. They're not on there. Terrence Crawford's on there a little bit, but only because they require him to be on there. Other than that, he's not on there a lot. Terrence Crawford was supposed to fight Sean Porter. They already had worked it out. The reason why the fight didn't happen was not because of PBC. Had he won against Errol, you would have seen that fight. Canelo wins by a knockout over Caleb Plant in round 9. I think Caleb Plant is going to run out of gas, and this time he's going to be running out of gas with a fighter he can't run out of gas against. Canelo's body attack. He never fought anybody that really went to his body. Canelo is a crafty body puncher, and he has speed and upper body movement. It's too much for Caleb Plant. See, PBC has these. That's what PBC stands for: pacified baby champions. They're painted to be some things that they're not. Now, I give Caleb Plant a lot of credit. You know, he did a lot coming up, but these guys are painted to be something that they're completely isn't. There is not one PBC fighter besides Errol Spence that I could say he got the goods. Errol Spence has the goods, but Errol Spence is also flawed. They know it. They know Errol can't be in the way Errol fights. If you put him in there with a welterweight his size, he's in trouble. Somebody who's just as big as him, he has problems. Whenever he did that, he had some problems. Kell Brook was the only guy he was able to beat because Kell was basically weight drained to make 147. Now, I don't know if Kell can make 147 again. We're going to see. He looks great. We know he's strong, but you see how Errol struggled in that fight. Then he fought Sean, somebody who's his size or bigger. He struggled. He didn't look like everybody thought he was going to look. He was supposed to dominate. You know, he's supposed to dominate Porter, and he didn't. A lot of people don't think he won the fight, like myself. I scored the fight for Sean. Well, Kell ran out of gas. See, that's what happens. All right, way to go, Apex. You got what you wanted. It justified them giving him the edge because there's a lot of rounds. I had Errol needing a knockout to win. But this was not built on, they did not build this up for Sean Porter. They built this up for Errol. So there it is. I mean, you got Keith Thurman. You know, Keith one-fight Thurman. He comes around, fights one fight, and disappears for 3 years. Ugas did beat Porter. Even dropped him, and they didn't even call it a knockdown. They called it a slip. Now, how many times did Errol get hurt in that fight against Kell Brook? He got hurt a lot. But he showed a lot of grit. He locked down. And he's good to go. No, Top Rank just has more. They got more fighters that are more polished. That's all. You got to understand, Terrence Crawford has fought. He unified the entire 140 division. And they're going to say, oh, Mikey Garcia, he didn't win the belt from Mikey. He beat the number one guy for years that people paid money to step aside, didn't want to fight. He fought that guy to unify the belts. He tried to fight Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia wants no parts of Terrence Crawford. If Terrence Crawford fights Mikey Garcia, Mikey gets stopped. He gets stopped. Errol fought Mikey Garcia and couldn't get him out of there. This was a guy who was 2 weight classes out of his weight. Mikey's a 135 fighter. He's not a 147. So Mikey Garcia vacated the title because he knew him fighting Terrence Crawford is a very bad idea. He wanted no parts of that fight. He fought him in the amateurs. He's the reason Terrence Crawford has a contract with Top Rank. Cameron Duncan, who managed Mikey Garcia, he said, hey, is there any amateur fighters I should be looking at? And I had told him about Terrence Crawford. And I was like, Cameron, Terrence Crawford. But he didn't listen when I said it. But when Mikey Garcia told him, he listened and he signed Terrence Crawford. He's like, yeah, he just beat me in the amateurs. He's really good. You should try to sign him. He signed Terrence Crawford, and everybody doubted him. Even on HBO, they said he's too technical. He's not exciting. Even Sean from Boxing Socialist, my partner, my buddy. He was like, I just don't see what's so special about Terrence Crawford. He used to say that all the time. I'm like, you don't see it? You can't see it? I'm like, wow, that's a shock. I can't believe you can't see it. Now, he won't say that no more. He knows he's the real deal. I would love to see Terrence Crawford versus Manny Pacquiao. It's the fight that Manny been avoiding for years. If anybody's going to retire Manny Pacquiao, it should be Terrence. Who has Crawford fought more people than Errol? Better people than Errol Spence. You tell Errol Spence to go fight Mean Machine and see what happens. Tell Errol to go fight Benavidez. See what happens. Let's just see what happens. Errol stops Mean Machine early, but he couldn't stop Mikey Garcia, who's 135 pounds with no power at 147. Are you serious? You couldn't stop a feather-fisted fighter who was 2 weight classes out. You go 12 rounds with him, but you're gonna stop Mean Machine. You see what I'm saying? This is the type of nonsense I had to deal with. He fought Victor Postal, who was the champion at 140. He fought the gold medal winner in the Olympics. He beat everybody, all these different styles. Sean's doing all right. I talked to him today. Styles makes fights. Exactly. You got a flat-footed fighter, a power puncher who likes for people to come forward. Did you see him hurt Terrence Crawford? And I told you when he fought Mean Machine, this is the toughest fight in Errol's career. This guy can hit. You see him crack Bud, right? Bud turned into a beast. Bud had to change his tactics to get in. Errol don't change his tactics. Errol fights one way, and that's it. Now, Errol is adaptable, but he's too flat-footed. Flat-footed gets you in knockout, drag-out fights that you shouldn't be in. Then you get hit with shots you shouldn't be getting hit with. This is a hit and don't get hit business. Lies. Why would we be telling lies? It doesn't even make sense to lie. Does Pacquiao beat Errol Spence? I don't know. That's a dicey fight. I would give the edge to Errol because he has the youth, but that's a dicey fight. Pacquiao's too old. They've been saying Pacquiao was too old for 3, 4, 5 years. He's too old. But here's the thing. The power is the last thing to go. You see what he did to Keith Thurman when he came through and landed the 1-2. When Manny popped you, Manny land them body punches, you feel it. You see what happened with Adrian Broner? They thought Manny was too old. You see what he had AB doing? See, he had Keith Thurman taking the mouthpiece out of his mouth going, oh, man. Manny is unorthodox. He attacks at different angles. Arum, since he's a staying still fighter, he might be able to get to Manny's body. Manny's going to be like that for about the first 3 rounds. And then Manny might take the foot off the gas for a minute. Yeah, the rounds that Keith Thurman won was the rounds that Manny was giving up. Manny was giving those up because he has expended a lot of energy trying to finish Keith Thurman. In like the 3rd round, he had him hurt again and was trying to finish him and punched himself out for a minute. So he had to take some rounds off to get his gas back up. But it was nothing that Thurman was doing to him really at all. That was like a problem. He can, when he wanted to, when he saved it up and he wanted to be offensive, he was offensive. Touching him to the body, throwing a surprise left to the body, and I was catching him every time. Of course. Keith Thurman is the prime example of a fighter who only fights once he's comfortable. He fights once he's in a good mood. Or once he got the money, he just wilded out, ate what he wanted, didn't have any discipline, kept getting out of shape, didn't want to go and train and get in shape once his fighting is over. It's like, okay, my fighting career is over. Let me go ahead and do this now. It's terrible. It's not how a fighter should condone themselves in a ring. It isn't. It's very unprofessional. So if you see another fighter like that, you look at him, it's probably in disgust because you're like, man, dude, what is you doing? This is what you want your career to be. This is what you want your life to become. It's sick. You have to be better than what you present yourself to be. Because you're not doing that, you're putting yourself at a supreme disadvantage. Supreme disadvantage. If Conor McGregor fought Manny Pacquiao is going to hurt him. He can handle because Manny's too fast. He won't be able to deal with Manny's power. Manny hits harder than Floyd. He throws his whole body into the punches. I mean, he would attack Conor McGregor with will. Both of them are southpaw, so they won't have any foot problems. I mean, really, I mean, they're making you pay for fights on PBC. Now, the whole point of PBC was you don't have to pay for cable. We're going to bring the fight to you on national TV. It went from national TV back to cable. Now we back seeing pay-per-views. We got the same problem we had years ago. These other companies don't want to do it, and it's mostly PBC. PBC don't want to make these fights with nobody but PBC fighters. They want to keep everything in house. I'm like the biggest PBC supporter there was, but I'll support boxing fights. And to me, when you're making the fights, that's what it's about. Like it's about the fight. It's not about the organization, really. People don't pay to see the brand. People don't come through the door saying, "Hey, I'm here for Top Rank." Oh, "Hey, I'm here for Golden Boy." No, you're here for the fight, the event. So if you don't have the event, oh, that's the same thing. Now, it's so many different elements that goes along with everything that people don't understand about and that's the part that people get so distracted with and get frustrated is we never got to see certain fights that we wanted to see. Certain fights were signed that we never got a chance to really get off the ground. No, I hate on people who not doing what they supposed to do. PBC was changing up the guard. PBC was like, we're gonna change that. We're gonna have the best fighters fighting the best. And we were like, all right, we were standing behind that. And they came out acting as if that's what they were gonna do. And they ended up doing what's best for the company and PBC. So they might as well just make a PBC belt and pass it around, because all they're doing is fighting each other. Well, there's still some bouts being worked on the undercard, but the meat and potatoes is, leave no doubt, Crawford and Brook is finally going to happen. Oh, for Kell Brook, this is where your life was going to be. He decided to take a fight and jump all the way up and wait and fight Triple G. See, people think that Errol Spence was the one to stop and derail Kell Brook. Kell Brook fought Triple G back when Triple G was this machine of destruction. He was Ivan Drago, and he made Ivan Drago bleed. He hurt him. A 147 fighter was able to stun him, hurt him, back him up, and go after him. Triple G ended up breaking his eye socket. He never knocked him down. Kell Brook was winning more rounds in the fight, but his eye was messed up. He had a broken eye socket. So they had to call the fight, but he came all the way up to middleweight for that fight. Then Errol Spence fought him next. Kell had to go through surgery. And then what ended up happening is when it was cracked and he damaged his eye socket, the other one ended up breaking when he fought Errol. Because it was partially fractured as well as this one, but it wasn't bad enough. So he had 2 operations, and he had to cut all that weight to make 147 pounds and defend the title. Eddie Hearn said, look, just vacate it. We'll do this. We don't need this Errol Spence fight. He didn't listen. No, Brook is a fighter. He wanted to fight. Stuff that you claim you want from your fighters. It wasn't a good business decision, but he wanted it. I know. Kell Brook is a 154 fighter fighting at 147. We already know this. So I don't understand. When have Kell ever taken PEDs? Like, okay, you're just making stuff up as you go. I can tell that's just what you're doing. You're spiraling. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's all over the place, isn't he? I'm like, what in the world is he talking about? Where are you getting this from? I'm from Sheffield, and Ingle Gym is known for that. Seriously? Wow. Just because somebody comes from a gym doesn't mean that everybody is doing something. Did Kell Brook and his team are they do they train with Billy Joe Saunders? No. Oh well, if he was serving a ban, it would be public. So I'm really baffled by what you just said, like completely baffled. That's my boys from Leeds. My boys from Leeds don't care about stuff like that. They're too drunk to realize about all the shenanigans. They want to see the fight in the ring and be halfway drunk. Yeah, they tried to put Nonito Donaire up there at the top. They did. Yeah, on the Patreon, I'm going in on Deontay Wilder live on the Patreon. I mean, it's brutal. Uh-oh, T back, man. Burundi told me he smoked you. He said y'all went to overtime or something. He finally got you. I told him I got T now. I sit up there and sent him the invite. He wasn't even online. And then I waited and I ended up passing out, going to sleep. And I was like, man, T ain't trying to play. Then he was like, send it again. See, I laid the blueprint out. I was starting to figure you out, T. You're gonna have to go into them bag of tricks now. He's like, I ain't get smoked. Yeah, I think I had mentioned that. The Pactards, remember they was out there in full force? Pactards. Da, da, da. Manny Pacquiao's royal fans, man, they came out in droves on social media. They felt they knew everything about boxing because Manny Pacquiao was winning all these fights and he was going to fight Floyd and Manny. That's all everybody knew. Yeah, the 100 million Asians go. I know every Filipino would come up and tell you about the sport of boxing. No one ain't just got here. I mean, dude, you just got here. He said he got lucky. I'll be on tonight. Oh, we doing a stream yard tonight. Oh yeah, this ain't it. This ain't the end of it. Oh no, StreamYard is coming tonight. It's getting down to the nitty gritty. Oh yeah, that fight when Nonito almost stopped him. No, I think Terrence Crawford makes more sense. Oh, tonight's topic is a good one, T. It's a good one. I'm gonna have to get my piston gear. I'm gonna have to get my piston gear on, so you know what's coming. It's time to get the piston gear out. Oh, it's time. Well, we have to see how the fight plays out. You know, Kell is still a dangerous individual. He didn't throw his talent away. The man just took a fight. That's all he did. But Rundy is still dreaming. It was pretty late when we played last night. Time to wake up. Now T got excuses. Y'all gonna have me get no mad. Is anyone picking Kell Brook? At this point, no. I'm not picking Kell. And I've been the biggest Kell Brook supporter ever because I really do give him a chance in this fight. More than any other person I know. Oh, Tyrone Spencer said he got Brook. Triple G versus Errol. That's a different fight altogether. I kind of favor Errol in that. I think Triple G has been through too many wars. I mean, Dervinchenko made him look really bad. And since they started this testing, he hasn't been looking like the man of steel anymore. I mean, he was crushing people. He was up 14-0. I mean, T defense is something else. Cause I'm like, I scored all the points for T. I threw like 2 pick sixes that last game, man. My D was holding him. Finally, I'm like, finally, we stopping the run. We getting up on him. I mean, you guys can. The controllers is right, right by y'all hands. Y'all can just pick it up and get with it. Uh, in their prime, Sergio Martinez would have had a hard time with Triple G because of the size. Triple G's jab coming forward. I'm walking in the house now. Oh man, y'all done got T high. Going into man witness protection with Chris. Man, I think we all got Chris because we've been waiting to play him for so long, man. He just got shut down completely. He just logged off. All right, Tyrone. You said he ain't fought a true welterweight yet. So I guess Mean Machine wasn't a welterweight. Neither was Benavidez. Okay. He only beat the guy that beat Manny Pacquiao, the Australian, when he first welterweight fight he got there. He fought the champ. So okay. But Errol can fight the Chris Algieri's, the Mikey Garcias, the Danny Garcias. How many 140 fighters is he gonna fight, man? How many of these little small guys he gonna fight, man? Tell me when Errol fights somebody. But nobody gives Errol no problems. He fights Sean Football Porter, who lost to Ugas. If Errol wanted to impress me, he would be fighting Ugas. He fought Brook in England. Yeah, that was his first real fight when he fought for the title. He's been at 147 his entire career. He had to fight Brook in England. That was the only way to keep Kell Brook from vacating the title. They paid Kell a fortune and said, hey, you can fight at home. They knew he was going to be weight drained. He just came from 160 pounds. Yeah, they had to move him down because he got weeble wobbled. That's why they keep putting Errol in there with these soft upcoming fighters because they already know the big dudes at 154, them dogs will tear him up. Of course, he won't bud. He better make sure he got bubble kush or whatever because that's the only bud he's going to be getting. You could have had him if they'd have raised your hand over at PBC, but they didn't raise your hand at PBC. When Errol stops somebody, let me know. Terrence been stopping people. But it's funny how people keep telling me how Errol gonna stop somebody. Uh-oh. Man, these two ready to go to. All right, them two finna go at it. The system is loading up now. Okay, they got a game going. I know this live gonna be something else. This when we do the live stream, that's gonna be incredible. Hopefully. Oh, hey, how you doing? This is Kevin Davis. Oh, we're doing great. We getting ready for this fight. And I said, who best in the call is than the man who set it all up? Because we've been trying to get this fight done for a while, and true to it, it's finally here. Crawford versus Brook. Now, are you guys still finalizing the card? Because I know Joshua Franco is supposed to be fighting.
Who?
Joshua Franco, I think, is fighting on this undercard, and Joshua Greer Jr.'s with Edwin.
Joshua Greer. You call him Joshua Franklin?
No, Franco. Joshua Franco.
Oh, yeah, Franco is fighting the rematch.
Yeah, with, Maloney.
With Maloney, yeah.
Yeah, so on that undercard, so I think they were still finalizing some of the fights on there. So it had an update.
No, it's all done now, but again, that's the way I know Josh Greer is on the card.
Oh yeah, Josh Greer Jr. Yeah, versus Edwin Rodriguez in that 8th round in the bantamweights. There's gonna be a lot of leather flying in that one.
Yeah, there sure will be.
Yep. So and then we get to watch it on ESPN and ESPN Plus. So we get to see both of them. So if you got both, you could just switch back and forth.
Yeah, ESPN Plus will do the preliminary fight, and then the main fights will be on regular ESPN. What do you call it? The linear platform.
Okay. Now, this fight here, a lot of people don't understand because they don't remember how Kell Brook, because he's kind of been away for a little bit, but Kell Brook is this is probably one of the most challenging fights in Terrence Crawford's career because
I agree. I agree. I think he always was a good fighter, and he had and he persisted. When he had that eye injury, but he never gave up, and he's in unbelievable shape. This is going to be a really ferocious fight.
Yes,
I think the toughest fight of Crawford's career.
Definitely.
Brook is naturally the bigger guy.
Yep, true. And not only that, he comes from the Ingle Gym. in Sheffield, and those guys are very known to be crafty. He's now he's also a skilled boxer. He's also kind of slick too. He has a lot of movement, upper body movement.
That's right.
So this is what makes a very interesting fight. And he gave Errol Spence problems when they fought before, but he had to come down and from weight because he had just fought Triple G, moved all the way up to middleweight, and then had to cut all the weight down. And to show the true heart of a champion, he could have just vacated the title and went to 54. He chose to stay in his hometown, do a fight, and defend that fight anyway. And
that's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's going to be a good fight, and the thing I like about it, I keep saying it, it's free. You don't pay extra.
Right, and that's the thing, some companies that they decided that they're gonna just throw these fights on pay-per-views and charge astronomical amount of money for mediocre fights, and I'm like, I don't understand that process at all when that was not what was their model.
That kills the sport when you do that.
Exactly.
There's a limit to what people can spend.
Yep.
And they'll spend for premium content, but they're not going to spend in big numbers for ordinary stuff that should be free.
Exactly. And when people keep throwing stuff on, it ends up hurting and going over into everybody else's business. So
everybody does what they want to do. That's part of the free country. So I don't fault anybody, but I'm not going to do it because I just think it's just wrong to do.
Exactly. And that's the difference between people who know what they're doing and people who just doing what they think is going to work, or because they have a platform to do it. But going into this fight, looking into the future, I know Lomo's recovering. What is the future looking like for him right now? For Lomachenko, yes.
Yeah. Oh, for Lomachenko.
Yes, for Lomachenko.
He's recovering, and I told him, forget about fighting right now. We'll talk when you're ready to come back. So, he may go down to 130. Maybe I match him with, talk to Floyd, put him with Bank Davis, or a fight like that. I think he's going to go down to 130 where he's better suited.
Okay, now how is the relationship with working with them? Because the other side seems to be predicated on only fighting in-house talent instead of going out and fighting the best for the fighter and the fight that the people want to see. We would love to see.
We don't do that.
I know you don't.
For example, in the semifinal, Franco is a Golden Boy fighter. I don't believe in that. You just make fights. You make good fights. You don't worry about who's in the house and who's not in the house.
Exactly. So, like when people say, man, we would love to see Teofimo Lopez versus Tank Davis, or Lomachenko versus Tank Davis, and things like that. But it seems like the other side don't really want to make those fights. They seem to want to keep their thing in house, and I think that's unfair to the sport.
Who the other side is? I think Floyd. He can. I think he's the promoter for Davis, and we've talked to Floyd, and Floyd just wants to make fights,
Okay.
So we're not gonna have a problem with making that fight.
All right. I think then that's a great fight. I'll pay money to see. Now that's a fight you can put on pay-per-view.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I agree.
So
I agree.
All right. See, we always in agreement because we're always what's best for the fight fans, and what's best for the fights. And when you see this fight, we keep telling them Terrence Crawford versus Kell Brook is going to be fireworks, and nobody's going to want to miss it. It's going to be just out this world. Another performance that's going to be top stellar. It's going to be another welterweight performance, either by Terrence Crawford or Kell Brook. So
I agree besides, we're not asking anybody to go into their pocket to see if we're right.
Yep, it's free. So there you go.
Can't do better than that.
Got to. Now, of course, everybody's going to talk about Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. I would rather him fight Manny Pacquiao. I think the Pacquiao fight is the right fight for Terrence at this point. If he's successful against Brook, the Manny Pacquiao fight makes more sense. It makes more for the legacy. You know, Manny's probably in his last 2 fights of his career, probably. And Terrence is the guy who's been chasing him and chasing him and chasing. He wants that spot, you know. So I feel like that fight would make more sense. What do you think about that?
I agree completely. Besides, we really don't know whether, you know, how would I say it? We don't know what Kell Brook we're going to see. Not Kell Brook, what
Errol Spence.
What Errol Spence we're going to see, you know, coming off that terrible, tragic accident.
Right.
You know, I mean, maybe he'll be the same, maybe he won't. We certainly hope for the kid's sake that he is the same. But we don't know. We don't know. And to say, you know, that we do, we just, you know, it's just, nobody knows. So let's see. And then after these fights take place, if Terrence is successful and Spence is successful, and Manny's fight, for whatever reason, is not available, happy to talk with them and make a Spence Crawford fight. We got a lot of fights, you know, before that can happen.
Exactly. And then, like, before we end it off, what is going on with this Wilder's ludicrous comments about Tyson Fury? I mean, it's so ludicrous. It's like I can't even. I've lost so much respect for Deontay just for making the claims. It's so ridiculous. I'm like, do you know?
Well, like I said, he's taking lessons from Donald Trump.
Yeah, they got about the same amount of excuses. I'm like, every week is something new now, and now he's blaming his old trainer. He poisoned my water. I'm like, do you know how many violations would have to go in place? Like, how many eyes would be there to watch this go down? It's like that he's selling.
And why would, not that he would ever even think of doing it, but why would
Mark Breland?
Why Mark Breland? Why the hell would he want to fight his own fighter's water? What the hell are you talking about?
It's ludicrous. I was like, man, I'm sitting there listening to it. I'm like, Mark Breland is probably in history, one of the most accomplished USA boxing amateur champions in history.
Well, that's absolutely correct.
And I'm like,
he accomplished. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. That's what I'm like. This is not some guy who just came out of nowhere. He was an accomplished. He's always been a professional.
Whoever he was the corner man for the fighter. Why would he? And they were getting. I mean, why would he even think that he would do?
Right. He has no connection to Fury's camp at all. I'm like, so what has he got to gain from it? It doesn't make any sense.
That is the point.
It sounds like a man who doesn't really want the fight to me.
And it sounds like a man who's been watching television too much and is mimicking Donald Trump.
Yeah. And that's what happens with some of the fighters of today. They get caught into the social media life more than in the ring action. And we kind of saw that with some of these younger fighters. They worry about a social media presence, and they forget they got to take care of the business in the ring. That's what brings the people into the seats.
And then to say that the referee was Kenny Bayless was drunk.
I know. And then when Tyson Fury just did an interview yesterday and said that he doesn't even want to fight him anymore. He just like, I'm. And now you can't really blame him. You know, and he said, you know, he's thinking about, like defamation lawsuit type stuff,
Absolutely.
And then, I understand, but what he does is fuel the conspiracy theorists on social media who've been like, they don't know anything about the sport, but they're doing it for clicks and views. They're making all these, well, the glove gate and all this stuff. Oh, he had an egg weight in his glove. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. It's not going to help the fight at all. You're only going to torpedo it, and nobody's going to want to fight you. I mean, I wouldn't want to fight a guy like that.
Fury beats this German kid, Agit Karabel, then he's going to go on and fight Joshua if Joshua beats Bula.
Oh, okay. So if they're gonna, because they were saying Fury's gonna, I mean, Wilder's gonna go to a judge to try to stop it and make the contract valid. That he's got to stay valid. So I didn't know anything about that, but okay, Fury is moving forward and moving towards fighting. Okay, that makes more sense to me. I want to see the Joshua fight because to me, I already know how I can kind of see how the Wilder Fury fight's going to work. I mean, he figured Wilder out. He knows what he needs to do. I don't see him having any problems really with Wilder in a third fight. I don't think there's any adjustment Wilder could make in a third fight that would make it any different than what we just saw in the second fight. So I definitely want to see what an Anthony Joshua fight would look like. You got two champions. You have the lineal heavyweight champion of the world in Tyson Fury versus the right. So I think boxing fans would want to see that first because we hadn't seen it yet. So let's see that. And then if Wilder's still around and
biggest fight in the history of boxing in the UK.
Yeah, it'll probably be around the world because people in the United States gonna want to see it too.
Yeah, but it's really big.
Oh yeah, and UK is gonna be huge. They're gonna sell out the whole stadium.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to see that, and yeah, that's all I really had for you, man. I'm thanks for taking the time again.
Okay.
And oh yeah, we'll talk after Saturday.
Okay, good.
All right, take care. Bye bye. There you go. There you go. See? I told you. We think alike. I hadn't spoke to Bob at all. And he agreed with about 90, 95%. I asked all the questions y'all wanted me to ask him about. Now he told y'all he has no problem in making the fight. He's talked to Floyd about making Lomachenko versus Tank. I agree with him 100%. No, I'm not saying that. He can get his shot back after we see Anthony Joshua. I mean, he blew his shot. If he wasn't running off at the mouth talking crazy, he probably would have his shot. But him coming out talking about he a cheater and all this goofiness. So there it is. I'm paid. You think Bob Arum pays me? I wish. I wish. I agreed. I said everything he said before he got on the phone right here with y'all. We did this live. None of this was scripted. None of this was anything. We didn't have no prep questions. I called him up on the phone. Cold call, basically. Oh, it's of course it's going down. I was more happy to see it though than anybody. Like when this fight was supposed to happen a year ago, mm-hmm. It's free. So anyway, uh-oh. Burundi's like, I'm winning. Uh-oh. Right. I didn't want to mention the other side. I didn't want to take he's like 7-0. Hey, when I was doing it, I didn't want to mention the other side. I didn't want to mention PBC name. I didn't want to try to make it to lean the narrative one way or the other. But you already know how I was saying it. One side don't seem like they want to make the fights. They want to keep everything in house. I didn't want to go out and bash PBC and do all that. I just said one side. We all know who they are. But he said that they trying to make that fight happen. Then we asked him about the Wilder situation. Like he said, I mean, the Pacquiao fight makes more sense right now because we don't know what Errol's even going to look like. We don't. We hope he's the Errol that he was before the injury. We're hoping for that. But realistically, we don't know. I absolutely believe Bob when he talks. I know when somebody's telling me the truth and when somebody's lying. Me and him agree 100% on every single thing we said. I said all of this to you before I got on the phone with Bob Arum. And when I got on the phone with Bob Arum, top ranked president of the entire company, the head promoter of the event, we talked. And what did he say? The exact same words. The exact same words. Today I'm lying, tomorrow I'm telling the truth. So, but that's all right. Donate to the Cash Out for getting to hear Bob Arum and getting your questions answered by Bob Arum live right here on Casino for Life platform. Well, since Burundi is over there playing T, I'm gonna go over here and play some Madden and probably beat up on Gavin for a minute. I'm out.